Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Pull Up Trade Podcast, the podcast co-hosted by myself, Samson Folk, and of course joined by the Trey that pulls up, Trevon Heath. A New Year's Day live episode after a pretty disappointing loss to the Nuggets, who did not have Aaron Gordon. They didn't have Cam Johnson. They didn't have Nikola Jokic. Have you heard of him? He's an incredible player. They end up losing, and we get hit with some of the the difficulties that have been just trudging around following these Raptors. Trey, it's the new year. The Raptors are 20-15. They're 20th on offense, 5th on defense, and 13th in net rating. We have come with some resolutions for this team that will hopefully chart it on a path forward. How you feeling?
Good. Like it's another year of this pod. I can't believe how many years we've done this so far. Just to start off, but I think overall for the Raptors season, like they've hit every expectation that you would have wanted. This is probably on the higher tier of expectations. Like they've punched up pretty well. I think just how it looked has been frustrating. Winning the games you're not supposed to win, losing the games that you go into thinking, but like that's the reality of like a middling team, and there's still like stuff to be figured out, which is why we're doing some resolutions.
Yeah. They were 15-7, I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
And if at 15-7 I had told you that they'd end up 20-15, I would have been a little bit obviously disappointed. At 15-7, we're like, oh, 20-12 is no problem, because that's what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
And they actually didn't get it. We thought it was guaranteed, but it didn't come around.
Yeah.
And that's largely because they've had a horrific offense. The defense has held. They have really found the middle there. They've found good footing. They've found where they can excel. And they've ultimately found like a lot of lineups that work. Now, the first resolution I have is something that will maybe, perhaps, put the defense at risk a little bit, because they're good at slowing down pace. They're good at controlling tempo from the defensive side. But on offense, they need to play faster. I talked to Darko about this, a couple of weeks ago when you and I were starting to notice that the Raptors were actually, despite telling everybody how fast they wanted to be, were a slow team. And at first blush, Darko said he wants them to get back to playing faster. The upside is obvious, but I'll let you tell it to the listeners. What do you think are the benefits of playing fast?
Yeah, for a team that struggles to really get to the rim, playing faster allows you to get more opportunities at the rim. The defense obviously isn't set, so there isn't a need for many blow-bys, and you already have readily made passing lanes and opportunities when you play in terms of pace. You've sort of seen the NBA explode in pace, like copying like Pacer style to some degree.
Sure.
And it allows the Raptors actually have several guys that you would want as play finishers going down to the rim. They just haven't gotten many of those opportunities, which is why like a guy like Jamal Shed feels like a stark difference when he plays, because he injects the pace that you want to see from this team.
The big thing is Scotty used to be one of the highest ranking transition finishers in the league over the first 15 games or so. And RJ was as well. And what they've done as a result is they've put Scotty in a position where he's rebounding more often rather than leaking out. And it has put us into the quagmire that was last year, which is the Raptors don't have enough good finishers out on the break. And so they're trying to navigate this situation, and it'll get better with RJ back in the fold. I mean, this is his second year in a row of being one of the highest volume scorers in transition, but I am really wondering how they navigate having Scotty back to rebound and really shore up that aspect of what's happening, and having a guy out on the break who can really, even if there's a guy back, that means nothing to Scotty at the rim. Like if it's small forward and down, it kind of means nothing. And even bigs, a lot of times, like a one-on-one Scotty with head of steam is not that consequential for him. Now, Jacoby, that's a big deal. If there's even a point guard back, right? Emmanuel, huge deal. Grady, it matters. It basically almost every player on the roster, it matters, except for, let's say, Scotty. He's definitely like the best at getting out there. I do wonder how they do it. As far as, and this is part of the resolution, we have to, I guess, solve or try to solve something a little bit.
Yeah.
Who do you think is the assassin in waiting in the Raptors like transition offense because it's Scotty and RJ in terms of volume. It's definitely not Brandon because he doesn't want to run out.
Yeah.
Who's the answer here?
I think it's CMB for many of the reasons why they draft him, both as a passer that can lead the break and then also as a play finisher. The Orlando game's a perfect example. They got to play to the pace that they wanted because of their defense. They got out and running, and when you have a lineup with two guys that have that sort of size, strength, and like uniqueness to them, it is very hard for you to match up with whatever they're doing, like heading into transition, because there is only so many guys on a roster that's going to be able to deter a guy like CMB and Scotty from the rim. So like he's a guy that they really need to get going.
Yeah. AI Sams also says you can't get out in transition if you can't rebound. You also need someone capable of making a good outlet pass. I think so. The Raptors are a top half of the NBA team now at actually defensive rebounding. They have really shorted up, and it's part of why they play so hard. This is the dynamic we were talking about earlier in the podcast, is that the Raptors, they have been more conservative, asking Scotty in particular to stay back. And Scotty is also an incredible hit-ahead pass maker. But who is on the other side of that hit-ahead? That's why the Raptors are a team who they shoot 61% from two-point range in transition. That is not superb. They don't shoot very well from three. I think in transition, they're shooting 35% right now. These two things could stand to be much better. Grady Dick, Emmanuel quickly, these guys I think are largely, and Grady more so than Emmanuel, but there's a volume intersection here. They're responsible for the little dip in, I guess, transition three-point shooting. But all this to say, the Raptors need to figure out how to elevate a couple of these players into being guys who actually make plays in transition. There's no way around it. This is the way they want to play. Jamal Shed isn't going to be a transition finisher, but he can be a transition playmaker. You know that role. Who's going to finish plays? Corey Brewer exists in many different iterations around this world. You know what I mean? And AI Sims brings up Kevin Love, who was on the opposite end of that Kevin Love pass all the times. It was Corey Brewer.
Yep.
Who is that guy for the Raptors? RJ Barrett in some sense. Other players, hopefully in another. That's the play faster thing. You get more looks at the rim. You get more open three-point shots. You score more because you get more transition opportunities. The Raptors, they play a lot of transition, but they're not very efficient. Do you want to discuss an easy resolution, a quick resolution?
Yeah, quick resolution.
Okay. Take us away.
I think on the roster, it's like fairly clear there's a logjam on the wing position. Similar to like Team Canada, the Raptors have like a glut of people that are 6'4" to like 6'6", from like Ochai, Scotty, Ochai, Grady, Jacoby, and Jameson. I think
even
it's
RJ
fairly
fits in there.
Yeah, he is. Well, he's a clear starter.
Yeah,
but I think it's fairly clear who Darko trusts and who's performed well and who the odd man out of this group is. I think it's fairly clear that that's Ochai Agbaji. Jamison Battle, his minutes have been super up and down, but every number across this team says when he plays, like Lewis pointed out, they get more rim attempts. The offense is significantly better across the board. And I understand there's like Ochai's a pending free agent. You might want to showcase that. You kind of saw that last year with the team as well. But they're at a point where you're trying to win games. You're trying to manufacture really good offense. And for a team that is devoid of any sort of dribbling talent outside of a couple guys, you need to give the opportunity and additional spacing across the board. So resolution for me is play Jamison Battle more.
It's a pretty good resolution. And also the Ochai thing is, you know, some coach, there's like a real, it almost seems like 50-50 divide in the NBA, is the coaches who will elevate a player who is outside of the rotation normally into a starting spot to keep the rotation normal.
Yeah.
Like Ochai starts against Denver and he plays, 11 minutes? Yeah. If he's playing really good, maybe he gets up to like 18-20 as a starter. But the Raptors are clearly not prioritizing him. And I mean, it comes up every time we talk about it. Jacoby has been the best of that group. I mean, you could argue that it's Jameson, but there's some like extrapolation necessary. Whereas Jacoby, I mean, Jacoby, his defense, we talked about it last episode.
Yeah,
He deserves
incredible.
flowers for what he's been doing. And he shoots the ball pretty efficiently. Not last night, but on the whole, he's
Mhm.
just I couldn't ask for more.
Yeah.
Jameson clearly been better than Grady in his minutes. He's held up better on defense, even if he doesn't create the same amount of turnovers. And also, he just shoots the ball better. And that's important. We want more Jameson minutes. We're agreed on that. That takes us into our next resolution. Lee Zimmerman says Channel says resolution for Grady Dick's agent. Find him a redraft trade destination. I'm sure they're working on it. Like the Raptors, they feel an onus to play him and to keep trying. They believed in his talent quite a bit. And so they saw, we've talked about this before, but Grady struggled in a lot of the pre-draft workouts. That was part of the reason why he fell. Some of it related to conditioning or holding up against physicality and stuff like that. But Grady Dick, the resolution, hit your threes. Things have come around for Grady besides his three-point shot. He has one of the highest steal rates on the Raptors. And again, I'm not saying this to suggest that Grady is a good defender, just that the Raptors are surviving his minutes. They're actually better defensively with him on the floor. Does that mean he's the main motivator? No, it just means they're not getting killed. His steal rate is really high. His rotations on defense, especially above the break and perimeter stuff, has been pretty good. It's created a lot of turnovers for the Raptors. He's shooting 63% at the rim. He's shooting 57% on layups. He's shooting 33% on pull-up triples. And he's shooting 30% on catch-and-shoot threes. That last thing hamstrings him completely. There's just nowhere to go from there. He's made important steps in every single aspect of his game. He's not going to be on the graphic as the worst finisher in the NBA, which is a bullshit graphic, by the way. Anyway, forever I will hate that. But he won't be on there. But if you were like, who's one of the worst shooters shooter? Well, it might be Grady Dick this year. He can't shoot at all. While you answer this, I have to go see what Jordan Hawkins is shooting.
Oh, Jesus. The Grady situation is obviously very, very tough because the in-between stuff, you're seeing some of that pop. Like the Warriors game, he shows that he can score in bunches because he's a guy that can attack closeouts, get to the middle, and utilize some of his skills from there. And it's very unique because of his size as well. But if you're not hitting threes, he just does not have a path of being an impactful rotation player for them. Although their minutes, they're winning their minutes when he does play due to some of his his gravity. You can acquire that skill. If gravity is going to be your greatest strength on a team, you can acquire that from other places and get that from guys who are also going to contribute and hit the shots that they're given. I do think he's been in a tough situation because the Raptors just don't generate tons of good looks for their role players. But at his draft position and at the skill set that they were hoping for and the investment that they put in, he's a guy that has to be able to hit more difficult threes. It's just the name of the game. I haven't given up hope. Ideally the Jacoby Grady situation, the best situation is that both of them played super well across the board. That was the number one scenario. But I haven't given up. I don't think they should trade him. I think they should give him the season, probably even next season, to be honest, because his skill set at his size is very hard to find in the NBA, and you would hate to see it blossom on another team, honestly.
Okay, so I'm going to answer before we move on from Grady. We have three things that I actually can answer pretty adequately. So Leon Knight says, I think they're pushing Grady to take contested threes. So Grady is 55th percentile in how often he shoots contested threes. He is 5th percentile in how often he makes them. There's a really weird thing happening with his contested three-point shooting. He didn't deliver the promise of himself as a shooter in the first 2 years, but what has happened with his contested three-point shooting this year is it begs belief how bad it's gotten. And the Raptors, when I was talking with Grady, at training camp and kind of even talking outside of what showed up on the interview, we're talking about the principles that Darko wants him to play with. And they did. They're get shots up. shoot it when you're open. Shoot it when you're not that open. Just like make sure the shot goes up because they really do believe in the shooting talent.
Yeah.
It's not manifested at all. Rig Papa says, I'm tired of watching Grady get blown by and reaching around to poke the ball while putting his teammates to provide help and putting them in the blender. So this is intentional. The Raptors want to play aggressive point of attack defense with someone like Grady. And the reason why he is going for the poke is he attempts to poke, he abandons the man, and he makes a peel switch to the corner. And a lot of the best defenses in the NBA peel switch. The Pacers and OKC both did it in the finals, and it's so that you can play a more aggressive, bumped out line of defense. And obviously, Grady gets blown by more than a lot of guys in that situation because he's not well equipped. But part of why he's getting blown by so often is that this is schemed in, and they're asking him to be hyper aggressive. It's why he and Jacoby both have really high steal rates on the team, is because they are playing so aggressive. And they want Grady to maintain a higher line defensively, which, I mean, listen, it's not to his advantage, but he's doing it. And then AISM says they should have him do more defensive shuffles. That's probably not going to fix it, but he's one of the only players I've seen in like watching warm-ups over the years and talking to guys before games and everything like that. Grady is one of the only guys I've seen go through the amount of like defensive footwork pre-game. Most players are just getting shots up. Grady does more defensive work than most other players. Interesting. What's your next resolution? That's Grady Dick.
Yeah, I think this one is controversial is not the word, but probably it hasn't shown enough to maybe make the declaration I'm saying, but I'm fairly confident in this guy. I think I'll just start off by saying I think the Raptors offense lacks multiple wrinkles, which is why you've kind of seen the early stuff come back to earth across the board. Like teams know that they're going to screen for Ingram. He's going to come and curl along the free throw line extended, and teams are top blocking that aggressively. I think one way to mitigate some of that stuff is obviously they need to drive better, but I think playing through CMB gives them another wrinkle within their offense that allows them to open up more things. Just to set it off, CMB in college was an amazing driver. He was able to be one of the best drivers in college basketball. We haven't seen that in the NBA so far, but largely that is most an opportunity. He just hasn't driven the ball very much. The play that gives me hope is in the Orlando Magic game where he throws Wendell Carter Jr. on a drive you haven't seen him essentially do all year. Gets to the rim. He doesn't finish that, but it's those sort of plays that create rotations, and he is a brilliant playmaker. He, again, in college basketball, he was one of the best playmakers in those situations. And with a team that doesn't have many opportunities to get those rotating bigs coming over, to get shots for guys like Grady, guys like Jameson, Jacoby, they need to experiment playing through some other guys. I think CMB is the best equipped outside of their additional starters to help get downhill.
Yep. And there's this weird thing, because I've been looking at all of the driving data and watching a bunch of the film, because there's two guys on the Raptors who have been getting super unlucky in their passes out of drives. Colin Murray-Boyles and Brandon Ingram. And it's tough to control for 3-point percentage coming from a guy's hands. Sometimes you can watch the film and be like, okay, this guy is creating great looks. So if teams shoot a little bit higher percentage when he passes them the ball, there you go. But out of drives, both Brandon and CMB, the team is shooting like between 10 and 20% on their threes. It's happening to both these guys. So the bet, especially with CMB being a guy who, when he does drive, is reaching the paint and the rim often like in the 90th percentile. He's getting downhill. Yeah. And as you say, it was the comparison I made to like Andrew Nembhard, Trendon Watford. Be one of those guys who reads body movements and use your strength to throw guys off balance, collect with 2 feet, make a play, a pass to the wing, to the corner, or finish off of 2. That comfortability, it's important for that to be there for him. And he definitely has the touch to finish around the rim. You can tell he's a little bit overwhelmed by the size, but oh man, he's there's a lot there. And in the same way that we see so many limited bigs become fulcrums and features of offense just because they run and play through the elbow or delay action, CMB has more, in my opinion, latent potential to play make than a lot of the guys who run through those actions all the time. It's just easy to create over those actions. I'd like to see them give him a little bit more freedom, the same as you. I have a short one, man.
All right.
RJ Barrett, free throw line. Free throw line, baby. What's your history? Listen, and this is a short one because, listen, RJ, if you can hit your free throws, God bless, brother. Let's see it. But what was, like, when you played basketball, how did your coach instill free throw technique to you guys? Or how many did you have to shoot?
We had to shoot 100. You had to make 100 before you could leave the gym. I don't think I was a very good free throw shooter, to be honest. I was like trying to get through the free throws as fast as possible just to not hear people talk shit.
You have good form for free throws, though.
Yeah.
And mid-rangers. It's you have a tough time stepping out to three. That's the trouble.
I don't have it's raised by Carmelo.
Bro, no wonder you love Derek Queen. Your own limitations made you an excellent draft analyst.
Yeah. Well, RJ, it makes no sense because, like, the 3-point shooting, he figured out, and it usually is you figure out the inside and you pull eventually outside. But he just doesn't. It just hasn't clicked, which I don't understand.
Even so, like, his mechanics are not good for if you want to be a pull-up shooter. It's just he's never going to be a pull-up shooter like that. It would surprise me so much. But the free throw is quiet. You know what I mean? It's a quiet little space for you. You don't have to organize your body in space. You just get up there and do the damn thing. Also, Lee Zimmerman. He's been reading Raptors Public forever and always insightful comments. Hell yeah for showing up. I see your resolution. We have that planned for one of these. The offense shall no longer consist of a point guard walking it up, dribbling in place for 5 additional seconds, waiting for BI to come off a pin, passing him the ball, and the other 4 pick their nose. Tre touched on that a little bit when he was addressing incorporating CMB, but we have an overall offense point that we'll be getting to. I guess we can probably. What's your last resolution you have over there?
And my last one is that I think the team has proven enough that they can buy, not a large buy, but they need to acquire a big. I had hope for Mo Bamba for about 15 seconds until he smashed into the other big. I was like, he needs to get off the court. It was a sensational, like, riveting 5 to 6 minutes of basketball where we couldn't get a rebound with a 7-footer. But the Raptors have a chance to, like, trying every day. But they've gotten to a place where they need to fill that slot with, like, a useful or at least a league level player and try to win these games, because there's Jonas Valanciunas, bless his heart, one of my favorite Raptors, like, shouldn't be killing us as much as he should have been. And, like, CMB and Scotty, like, cover a lot of ground defensively, but it's hard to finish possessions without that, like, requisite size. So, like, they have a logjam at the wing. Maybe they fill that out by acquiring a big, and you don't throw off any future or anything, but you give this team a better chance to win games.
So do you remember when it was the start of the championship season and Valanciunas was coming off the bench and Serge was starting?
Yes.
And it was like he'd play 20 minutes and he'd have like 15 and 9 every night. And we're like, this guy is beating the hell out of every single second unit. 23 minutes, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 of 6 from the field, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. JV, he was like Michael Irvin with the belt, man, just beating the hell out of us. He did a hell of a job with it. Lee says, yeah, but shouldn't they have given Bamba a shot guarding JV? I don't know if it would have worked.
I didn't see it, to be honest.
Noble Venom says it's hard to succeed in the NBA without competent guard and center play. The thing is, the Raptors they're very competent at the center position. It's just that guy is not playing a what? Unfortunately.
It's tough.
Yeah. If Jordan Poole was like the darling of proprioception, Mo Bamba, the way he crashed into that guy, he was not aware that there was a tag, man. And like you might think, it's a foul. It wasn't. That guy was just waiting in the lane, and Mo Bamba just came in and crashed into him. It's like the kids who wait at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
You know, you're sledding. Do you ever like my elementary school? It was right at the top of a hill, so we just walk like 20 feet, and there's a huge hill. There'd be a kid who'd just be standing there, and a sled would just come and take his feet out. It was crazy.
It's so sad that I had hope. I'm reading Mo Bamba's been killing the G League. He's one of the best players. He broke the Raptors streak. Certain people told me he was playing amazing. I was like, all right, let's see this. And like, just not. The rebounding was the most like disappointing thing of anything, because he was like, I had rim returns. He's huge. He's tall, but like not fixing the rebounding situation is like insane at his size. But get somebody, please.
We're in chat. Tyler Lewis discussing functional size, weak lower bodies, etc. Gives me a little bit of stress thinking about this. You know what's coming. Gives me a little bit of stress thinking about this Raptors center position. I tell you what, basketball can be stressful, but your choice of beer, it does not have to be. Coors Light delivers mountain cold refreshment. Okay? When the mountain turns blue, the beer is as cold and refreshing as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lager, cold filtered, and cold certified for a smoother finish. Cold beer. I love cold beer. Trey, how do you feel about cold beer?
When you think of New Year's and being around with your family, like your little case of beer is just another member. It's how you share things with your friends and family. I was just over some of our friends yesterday, and it's like an essential part of the New Year. So it's fitting.
Lee says, yeah, but isn't all beer cold when you put it in the fridge? Listen, Lee, you leave this to, I'm from Saskatchewan. I know true cold. And when I touch a Coors Light, it's so cold. Anyway, make sure to celebrate responsibly. And of course, you must be of legal drinking age to partake. You can find Coors Light near you. You can visit CoorsLightShop.ca. And also, thank you to everybody in the comments after being like, I just would love to have a Coors Light now. Now I really want to go. We appreciate that. The front says, Samson, do you have a de Quervain tendinopathy or something? No, I strained my flexor. I have a flexor strain, and I ruptured a tendon in my finger rock climbing. So unfortunate, but that's what the gear is for. We'll see how all this goes going to the. I'm going to be like, do you ever watch Cinderella Man?
Yeah, I did.
You know, he has to use the left instead.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I'm like DeMar DeRozan eating cereal. He tricked us, man.
He did. I was like, that's why this season he's going to win MVP.
It is funny, you know, when you're like a 16-year-old, you understand why like some of the channels that say everything that happens with the Raptors is like, this will change everything. Yep. Is because when I was like 15, 16, and there was just like a bit of news of like, they're like, Rudy Gay got LASIK eye surgery. I'm like, oh my God, he's Michael Jordan.
Couldn't see.
Yeah. He was playing basketball. I couldn't see. Are you kidding me? Anyway, okay. We have more resolutions. Top line revolution. It's what Lee brought up. It's the Raptors not being as Trey brought up, not being as dependent on Brandon, not being as slow and uninventive in getting him the ball. And as Lee brought up, not just having a point guard bring the ball up slowly and, you know, establish very boring rote offense. So my resolution is get the offense into the top half of the league. Now, how do we accomplish this? I have two resolutions here that I believe in. And if you don't have anything off the top of your head, we can go there. But do you have anything like off the top of your head? You're like, this is what we need.
For the overall offense, like fixing like the point guard situation will help, and obviously
You're corny, bro. You're trolling.
oh man, I don't know why I was feeling that way too. I was just like, yeah, fair enough.
You had a little eggnog in hand. All right.
All right, I'll respond. Fair enough. But that's obviously like the biggest key. Like the reason why the Raptors play the way that they do and they run tons of screens to try to free guys open is because the rotation isn't coming anywhere else. Like from a live dribble. They sucked at it last year and they suck at it this year. But I think for this team, like if you're not making any changes, which I don't think they're actually going to do. I think I think they now have enough defensive talent where you can play more shooting around guys. Like Jameson's minutes and Grady's minutes have been tied to really good offense, and like playing those guys more will allow you to get more rim attempts across the board. And then obviously like playing faster just across the board their best runs through any of these wins have been them playing in transition, playing super fast, and going from there. So I think some of the offense needs to, because both Quickly and BI like have a methodical style of going about it. I wonder if you mix that up with giving RJ and Scotty, at least being the initiator, injecting some of the pace and allowing those guys to run actions around them.
So we have Zero Cosmo says start Shed and play him more with IQ. Lee says the offense goes great when Shed comes with full head of speed and causes the D to break down more of this, please. And AI Sam says LMAO, it's honestly as simple as dudes need to be less streaky and more consistent. I agree with all of this to a certain degree, but there is like a diminishing return point, which I don't know if we found. I don't know if like, listen, when Jamal was shooting 25% from the field over like an 8-game stretch, it was kind of like scary hours. Like, I don't know. And he plays like in style much better than IQ does. Shed does. But IQ is just a much better shot maker. And that is incredibly important. And we keep bringing this up because it's the same conversation over and over again. I get it, but like IQ does two things. He doesn't turn the ball over, so he's not wasting possessions, and he hits threes. This stuff is really important. Now, can I also counter this with there's some like bullshit going on here, man. When it's like the fourth quarter against the Warriors and IQ has 5 turnovers and 1 assist, and he finishes with 7 turnovers and 5 assists, his playmaking did not move mountains down the stretch. It wasn't like, oh my God, it was his 3-point shooting that did. But running like a snug pin for Brandon Ingram and getting 4 assists because you toss it into a guy who hits a contested mid-range jumper. This is not like anybody can do this. We had Colin Castleton doing this, okay? Like it is not good playmaking or point guarding. It's because like the conversation is there's so much frustration with Quickly's approach, but you also can't get in the way of some of like his outcome. But also Shed's approach, he's fun. He plays, I don't know if I'm being a white guy right now. He plays the right way. I don't know. Like, when he picks up that trash, that's a good man. I don't know really. But there's also a real limitation for him as well. He does such a good job of outfoxing it. But it's the Raptors in a position right now that Quickly and IQ do benefit from playing together. I hope that they pursue that while this team looks like this iteration of this team. And I hope that IQ I think he's 26, maybe closer to 27. I hope that he keeps taking steps as a playmaker. I hope that seeing the defense move in front of him, he slowly accumulates better reads. I don't know. And I hope Jamal really keeps developing as a shooter, because when Jamal shoots the ball well, if he hits like 2 threes in a game, it's he's just a great backup guard if he hits 2 threes in a game. And he takes so many of them above the break. That's why it's like he's shooting 33% on the season right now, I think. But that's been good enough because most of it's above the break. And the other stuff he's been doing has been so much fun. Anyway, figuring out the dynamic of the point guards is obviously more important. Here's something. We touched on it with the CMB thing, but another resolution is Brandon Ingram reaches the rim on drives at the 12th percentile in the NBA. He's 9th percentile in touching the paint. You know, the team is shooting horribly on his passes. Some of that is he's not a great at hitting guys in the shooting pocket or finding them in rhythm. I think you just have to keep betting on him making passes out of drives and hitting those shots, which is to the point that AI Sims brought up, which is like streakiness, consistency. The thing is, Brandon said, I can't remember who he said told him, but he was like, yeah, they told me just you're so long that if you just take a step, then you're at the rim. And he said that, and then he was like, I'm going to be at the rim so little. I'm just not going to be at the rim. Do you think resolve that this could be adjusted through mindset, or do you think the Raptors spacing is in just such a bad spot that Brandon just has to keep shooting over the top?
It's a combination of both. Like his approach.
Combination.
It's a combination of both things. Like he clearly could have a better approach. Like the mid-range shot he took in the Warriors game to take the lead is just horrendous. I was like, we're absolutely going to lose after that shot. You could get a better look, and I think he falls into that just because his shooting talent is so good as well. But like his numbers historically have shown, like when he does decide to drive, like he is effective at doing it. I think the Raptors have spacing issues. Like teams just don't ever get out of the paint against them, which is super tough. But his playmaking we saw guys like RJ navigate that through playmaking, and like even Jamal making an interior pass. And you have play finishers, whether that's Jakob, whatever he plays, Scotty, CMB, other guys. Jacoby's a fairly good cutter, Jameson, and navigating that through some of his playmaking as well, like in the interior, I think will help also. So I think he's too talented for the approach that he has. Although it's been a good season, that ticking up a little bit more will help the overall team.
Lance Scott brings up an interesting point, says going in equals getting injured. Not a good return on investment. I do get that to some degree. This is something that isn't discussed very often, but it's something that players discuss a lot with their trainers, is that some guys, they actually know, like if I play like this more often, even if I have the capability, I may just get injured more often. Whereas from a fan perspective, you're like, listen, injuries are part of the game. The player obviously has more skin in the game. And they're like, well, I don't really want to play that way. Also, if I can provide, there's like on a points per chance basis, drives are just like Brandon Ingram is one of the best jumper shooters out of drives in the league. He's elite. 1.13 points per possession, which is massive. He's middle of the pack at finishing at the rim out of drives, and it's 1.174. So like one is just a lot more valuable than the other. And the big difference is that Brandon's playmaking out of drives is really going to suffer if he's not getting deeper. It's just you don't create as much. That like maybe his scoring, as we can see in the numbers, it's like whether he's at the rim or jumper, it's efficient, but the playmaking just suffers a bunch if you're settling for like 17 footers, 16 footers. You're not creating change in the defense or openings for others. And this is what we're seeing, where his assist to turnover ratio is butt. And on top of that, he hasn't been very aggressive or dynamic as a passer. The last thing, Scotty Barnes developing a go-to play type on offense.
Yes.
That not a go-to play type insofar as like he's a roll man. He's 88th percentile in the NBA scoring as a roll man, and he's a good passer out of the roll. So put Scotty as the screener, have him roll, great things are happening. I would love for them to do that, but that's not a go-to play for him because the roll man is dependent on somebody else.
Yep.
He's 74th percentile scoring as an ISO player right now. I don't know if you can, I wouldn't expect to scale that up. He's like 34th percentile in how often he's doing it. So not super often. I don't think you can scale up the ISO. If you put your thinking cap on, what are you trying to do in terms of get Scotty a look? What do you think makes sense to you?
Yeah. I think long term, I think it's a post up. His post up numbers haven't been good. I don't think he has the
They're
requisite
really bad, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have the requisite footwork. It's like
It's the wide base. He's
Yeah.
not slick.
Yeah, and he isn't like slithering through a shoulder. It's usually just him trying to go over the top, which is why like him as a roll man is great. Like he is a full head of steam. He's super long. He can go over the top of any big that's in the way. But he still, when he does get post up looks, like he is separating from his defender like more often than not, just because he has the requisite strength and he has really good touch. So like his jump hook, when he gets to it, he can score from there. I think developing like his footwork and becoming better at that, because for me, honestly, I don't think the driving is ever going to get to a place where like you want him to be the main initiator within the offense. I think it's clear through the last 5 years, but him getting a pinch post look and having the defense barreling down on him, and then he'll be able to use his playmaking. Just yesterday, he frees quickly into the left corner just because teams are the other defender is crashing down. Like he can make those plays. Those are things he can do in his sleep. He just has to be able to score enough to warrant some of those rotations. So I think developing that would be a massive advantage for the Raptors and for his numbers overall.
The big thing with his post ups is I think they're pretty one note. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like he's shooting 45% on them right now, which is not good out of post ups. Like, so he's 24th percentile scoring out of post ups right now, and he's 46th percentile when you include passes. So his passing is obviously like elite. And that
Yeah.
makes you feel like, okay, there's something to build off of here.
Mhm.
And if usually the upper limit or the ceiling of a player's post up game is because they can't pass out of it.
Yep.
And front court players is like, for whatever reason, the brain malfunctions. They're like me on that faithful day at TMU, university. It just goes sideways. But as far as Scotty, he's an unbelievable passer. He processes the floor incredibly well. And if we can use Pascal as like a facsimile, Scotty won't do it in the same way, but Pascal as a scorer out of the post gives you three options. Like he can threaten the rim really well because he can get there through being kind of like svelte and skilled. And I think Scotty probably is like a relatively similar level short mid-range fade shooter as Pascal. Maybe a little bit worse, maybe a little less dynamic, but he's good at it. And the free throw line. Scotty has not been able to use his overwhelming strength to draw free throws out of the post up. I think that is the next big step. And even though, he's not good, the points per possession right now is not good for him as a scorer of the post up. It's never been, actually. I think you bring up a great point that there's potential for that to be, because when you're on the perimeter, how are you going to utilize your strength, really?
Yeah.
And when he's a roll man, he gets to take big long strides. He gets to threaten the rim. That's great, but that's not out of his own hand. And especially since he is a wing, you get used in like size actions. You dominate mismatches. And if we can, like the Pascal point, the post up for Pascal has been one of the best single plays over the past 2 years of playoff basketball, like equivalent to like Jokic stuff. And it's because he's just dominating mismatches. Scotty has the potential to do it in a different way. Maybe not the same ceiling, but there's just a lot of room left for him. Even if his footwork is pretty bad, there's so much strength. And he has like within 14 feet, his touch is so strong. There's so much room. And I think as far as like an initiation possession, that's probably the best bet. But also like spread pick and roll stuff with guard screens.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
But as a go-to, I don't know. I think as a go-to, maybe like when he's 28, a post up on the left or right block might be something that teams are actually like really worried about guarding. So I think you hit the nail on the head. So that's my resolution as a go-to for Scotty. We think it's keep grinding the post touches. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we get out of here?
First off, Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully you drank responsibly.
Of course.
Coors Light. I think that the big thing with this team is that it's been very frustrating to see them lose games that you think they should win. And honestly, from a night to night basis, I don't think anyone can predict how well they're going to play or not.
Yeah, it's tough
to be honest. But the journey has been great. It's been good to see an actual like good team for the first time since we've done this pod. So like, let's just no draft pod is coming anytime soon. Let's just keep grinding.
I was walking yesterday and it was cold. I was just walking. Someone says, Samson? I was like, yeah, what's up? Is a listener, Trevor.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, man, you and I, we must complain more than we think, because every time a listener comes up to me, a viewer, they're always like, aren't you happy you don't have to do draft stuff? Like the team's finally good. Because you and I, we sit here and we just go, oh, brother. But anyway, I had a great time talking with Trevor. It was nice meeting him and his girlfriend. And yeah, it was but it's funny because you and I, we talk about the draft as if it were wartime. You know what I mean? Like a veteran. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's probably about as good a place. Lance Scott says, can we be fans this year, please? Let's all leave toxicity and fanaticism in 25. You've been seeing the comment section, dude.
It's been warm. It's been warm.
I've talked about this forever, but when teams are underperforming expectations, and like the thing is, the Raptors, when they went on that winning streak, they created new expectations, and then they started underperforming them immediately. So everyone has a different idea of how you get out of that slump or how you achieve more. And listen, it's cats and dogs, man. It's blood in the street. There's no, and it's not like people are on the internet typically pretty bad at disagreeing. They're like, you stupid mother. It just comes about so quick. Thank you to everybody for tuning in, though. The comments, as always, super insightful and really fun to bounce off of from myself and Trey. Thank you. As Trey said, have a happy new year. We'll be back to talk more Raptors next week. Ro says, this is pro sports. F that. Hell yeah, bro. Let's lock in a little toxicity. Yes, a little more of that going into the new year. Thank you to everybody for tuning in, whether you got into this in the morning or at night. Also, hey, ND. Whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and goodbye.